Hello all. Very good morning, good afternoon, whatever suits you. So, today we're going to learn about early Christian architecture and Byzantine architecture. Few examples that are actually standing in history. Let me start with my slide. Slides are visible. So, as you can see, the early Christian Byzantine architecture actually revolves around the year 300 AD and 1000 AD. We're going to see about a little about the architectural character of early Christian architecture. Before that, a very short note why early Christian architecture actually comes into existence. So, Roman Empire or people of Roman, where they were not much religious, but they were so much into, entertainment activities, public gatherings, meetings, and things like that. Now that you have Jesus and his disciplines, they come to each and every country, propagating what is Christianity and things like that. There are many people now they started going like with the Christianity and all. So that gave the reason behind why these kind of churches needs to be constructed. Now we have disciplines like Saint Paul, Saint Peter. They are coming to Roman Empire and they're trying to establish the Christian architecture, not architecture, sorry, Christianity. Now that they are here, they need building structures that needs to be done. So immediately you cannot actually construct such a big temple or church or any building for that matter. So what they're actually doing is they're trying to convert the existing structures or they're trying to get the materials, building materials and building parts, elements from that existing structures, and then they're coming up with their own plan. So as you can see, there's a plan over here. You can see that it starts with an entrance. Usually in Christian architecture, the entrance is called as the portal. Okay, so you can see that you have a portal in the over here. You can see a portal that takes you to a court, open court, which is surrounded by on all four sides. But you can see that colonnades are there. Okay, so you have an airy, like very airy open court in the front, and then you can see that there is a small veranda over here. So this veranda is also called as narthex in early Christian architecture, which again you can see portals. That is the entrance to the main church area. So this entry area is called as the portal, and it may be single or multiple portals can also be seen with respect to the identity of each temple. That leads you to the central space that is your nave area. Okay, inside the nave area, you can see a separate space for the choir also. Choir is basically where people sing holy songs and all. And on either side of the nave, you can see that it is aisle. So we usually define nave and aisle, stating that the central rectangular portion inside is called as the nave, which you can see here in the picture, where people are actually sitting and praying and all. And you can see rows of columns here behind the rows of columns. So both the sides you have rows of columns, one and here. Behind the rows of columns, on either side of the nave, what you see is called as the aisle area. You can see here that the central part of the church or where your entire focus leads to, that is where it's called as the altar space, like where you have the Holy Christ that kept there, and then that is usually semicircular in nature. So we say that portion as apse or apsidal end. And you here you can see, like saints or Mary's statue being kept on either side of the apsidal area. And when I say aisle, it is not necessary that there will be only two aisles. There are few examples where you can see multiple aisles, like it could be either two or four aisles also together. You can see like two rows of columns that are there, and usually the roof is made of timber roof, and the height is marvelous, and you can see windows on top areas as well. So one more basic character that you can see in Byzantine architecture is basically that the domes instead of for construction of domes, like you have a square plan that needs to be executed to be a circular plan when it comes to the dome. You can see that, so this is square plan. If I'm going to draw a circle inside it, you can see that the corners are being created as a kind of a triangular portion. So this portion, when it is in three-dimensionally, when executed, it needs a support, and you can see in three-dimensional way. So here you have the dome, you have a square plan at the bottom. This three-dimensional fitting, a triangularish fitting, is what we call it as the pendant. Pendentive. Okay, so pendentive is an important word that you need to understand in Byzantine architecture. Okay, now we see few examples here. So this is from early Christian architecture, Saint Clement, Rome. So here you can see that this is the front porch, which takes us to the central atrium, where you also have a fountain at the center, and on either sides you can see the colonnades are also there, and one of the colonnades is taking you to the convent is where the priest and sisters usually resides there. That's taking us to the convent. And then this atrium, if I pass through the atrium, you can see there is narthex is the veranda, and it takes me to a portal, that is the entrance. And once I cross the portal, I can see there is a big nave. In the center you can see a choirs area, which is, we can, you can see a small portion over here and here. It is gospel ambo and epistle ambo. So this is like a raised platform where the one who is going to read the Bible or read the story, they'll go up, read it to the entire crowd, and then come back. So that is a raised portion there. And on either side of the nave, we also have an aisle. Here is the altar portion with a sanctuary area, which is again semicircular in nature. And you also have two small apsidal end, which has like saints, um, statue of saints and all. So this is section. You can see that this open area is somewhat lower in height as it comes inside. You can see that the nave portion is very taller. You can see a human figure over here. The height is at least 3 times or 4 times bigger than that. And you can see that the columns are actually connected by arcade. In the previous example, we were seeing a horizontal beam that is running over. So it could be either way. It can be an arcade or it can even be a beam that runs connecting all the columns. So both can be the. So St. Clement Rome was actually built in the 11th century. It was built over an earlier church of 5th century. Um, 5th century church was that, and you can, they actually retained the original internal arrangement. That is when this open court and all comes into existence, and you can see two rows of columns here, and it is made of timber roof. The patron saint was actually buried under the altar in a crypt. Crypt is basically means a basement chamber. Usually, the older temples has a crypt inside. So, where is the crypt? The crypt is actually under the altar portion. Okay, you can see the look of this atrium surrounded by columns on all four sides, columnades on all four sides. So, this is the epistle lambo. This is the gospel lambo, and you can also see the choir in the center over here. You can see the amount of detailing and interiors over here. So you also have the coffered ceilings, and this arch is actually monumental in size, as you can see here. It's very monumental in size. It also, like, the coffered ceiling has gilded ceiling, gilded in the sense the more colors were added to it by gilding technique. The next example, it's from Byzantine architecture. It's a very important example and very massive. And it's very astonishing to see Saint Sophia, Constantinople's Byzantine architecture example. So it's basically called as Hagia Sophia. So Hagia Sophia has a very big history. So it was earlier a basilica, then it became a mosque, and now it is actually a museum. So the typology has actually changed thrice. So Ottoman Turks actually folded the earlier basilica and they converted it into mosque, and then it got again converted to a museum. So it is actually a largest cathedral before Seville Cathedral for almost 1,000 years. So let's see about the architectural details. So this is the plan. So you can see here that There is a dotted circle which basically denotes the huge dome on top. And you can see two semicircular dotted circles. Those are actually the semi-domes which are attached to the major dome. You can see the picture here. So this is the major dome. These are two semi-domes. And you can also see a smaller domical structure which are attached to the corners of it. So that is called as the exedra. One, two, three, and four exedras are there. So, and you can see that the nave is not rectangular in nature in this example. Here, this nave is almost like a oval or elliptical in size. And you can also see the size of the dome. It is 107 feet. Uh, since it's a square, I'm just giving you one dimension. It is 107 feet. And this end, from narthex till the apsidal end, the dimension is around 250 feet. Okay, so you can also see that this atrium, so now it is not there, so that's what is given now destroyed. So you have an open atrium, which is actually taking you to two sets of narthex. There's one outer narthex, there's one inner narthex, and then you are taken inside the area with 8 portals. You can see here, these are the portals. So that is how you enter the building. You also have a special place for giving baptistry, and you have a gallery area on top as well. Yeah, now let's see the interior of it, a little, I mean, sectional view of it. You can see that there are 4 buttresses here. So sorry, since the size of, you know, the dome is huge, and this entire nave area is very huge, that this wall has to be supported, for which 4 buttresses were added. You can see the buttress, how huge it is. One, two, three, and 4 buttresses were added to it. And these are the pendantus, the inner portion of the pendantum. That is something very unique about it. You can also see semi-domes. This is the structure of the exit over here. And one more thing that you need to understand here is that the you can see ring of windows here. So they created a ring of window, which actually, when seen from the bottom part of it, it gives an illusion that the entire dome is floating around. So they were able to, understand the geometry, understand the lighting, and they are coming up with a good architecture here. You can see the picture of the dome with the rings of windows. There were almost 40 rings of windows on top of it. They also had, a gallery space on top of the aisle area. So when it was like a mosque, the apse was actually considered to be the mihrab, which actually oriented towards the Mecca area. This is the interior surface. And you can see the column detail here. It is not a fluted column, a plain column along with an abacus. And you can see a little scroll. It is not like an ionic column where you can see bigger scrolls. It's a little scroll that is also there, along with certain kind of floral kind of details over here. You can see the color of the interior. They have used polyframe material, which is basically like multiple minerals together. The stone was there. So that's the reason why you're able to see this kind of colors. There were around 107 columns there. You can see the upper gallery over here in the picture. But when it compared to there was one more interior detail is what that you can see so much of gold in it. You can see many gilded golds inside the interiors as well. Exterior part is not as much interesting as interior part, but it is like huge, massive, and thick in nature. And these 4 minarets were added in the later period by the Ottoman Turks. Okay, the next example we are going to see is St. Mark's, Venice. It is again Byzantine Empire, Byzantine example. So this well, this was built in 864 AD in order to receive St. Mark's body, but it was burnt down subsequently. This present structure was constructed in the year 1042 to 1071 AD. So they adopted Greek cross plan, which is with enormous number of domes. And they didn't alter the basic structure, but they just added more decorations and things like that. They also added marbles and carving in the exterior area to make it look more richer. And it is also called as the Church of Gold. Now let's look into the plan. So this is basically called as the Greek cross. You can see here that this dotted line over here represents the dome on top. You can see 1, 2, 5 domes, the main domes. You can also see the smaller domes on the sides as well. Okay, so you can see this portion is the nave area. This is the apsidal end. You also have this wing kind of structure on both sides that is called as the transept. The central dome is actually 42 feet in diameter, and there are great square piers here. Piers are usually thick in nature rather than the column, which holds so much of detailing, and it becomes a structural member for the domical support. The You can also see that there is a gallery in the level one with arched openings. Yes, so you can see the interior details over here. It is full of gold. That's why it's called as Church of Gold. It also has ambos where you can read the gospel, and this is the plan of it. So this is a section you're looking at. You can see that there are arcades which are connecting all the areas, and the vaulting is also made very well inside. The vaulting is detailed, so much of gold in it. They're also covered with polychrome marble slabs, which basically means multicolored marble slabs. You can also see this inscriptions and stories and other things. This is from the exterior. You can see the domes, the details of the main domes. This is the entry. So this each entry basically leads to one portal. So we have 5 arched portals decorated with polychrome marbles, and they open themselves towards the narthex and through a bronze door. You can see the detail here on top of each portal. And thank you.